Hello, my name is Hannah and this is Just Simply Abide, and this is our birth story. I have not been on YouTube in a few months because I did have a baby, and I wanted this to be my first video back. So if you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I make videos on motherhood, faith, and non-toxic living, and if you like any of that stuff, please subscribe below. I'm going to preface this by saying we did not have the best experience with our midwives, so I'm not going to go into every single detail, but if I don't talk that nicely about them, that's fine. So on Tuesday, Kaden was born on Wednesday. On Tuesday, I just was not feeling well. I woke up feeling like crampy and sick and nauseous, and I did not eat hardly anything that day, which I would not recommend. But that night we had some friends over and I started having contractions. I had a few false alarms like the week prior, but these contractions were more intense. So I remember I started timing some of them. One went like 2 minutes long. It was not very consistent though at that point. I remember squeezing like the side of the couch because a few of them were very intense. So around 10, I think, they started getting really more intense. So when we went to bed, I could not lay down. I tried like every position like I was able to at the time while being pregnant, and I couldn't get settled. It was just too painful to lie down. So I remember getting up and getting back in the shower because I was having a lot of back pain, and seeing if that would relieve it. So Kaden just woke up from his nap, but where was I? Oh, right before I got in the shower, my contractions were timing at like 6 minutes apart. They're about a minute and a half long. No, 2 minutes to a minute and a half long. And the shower didn't help. I remember it was around 11 or 12 when Kevin got up because I was just in too much pain by that point. Which I call it pain, but it really wasn't pain actually. It's more like a whole lot of pressure. So I had like 3 midwives. One was the main midwife, one was her assistant, and one was a doula training to be a midwife. So they told me to call them when I had contractions that were like a minute long, 5 minutes apart. I skipped that stage unless that stage went really quickly when I was in the shower for 10 minutes. Because by the time I got out and started timing them again, they were a minute to a minute and a half long, like 3 to 2 minutes apart. So we ended up calling the midwives, which we called the main midwife a few times. She didn't answer. We called her assistant. She didn't answer. And we called the doula, and she didn't answer. So there was another midwife that works with them sometimes that I had seen a couple of times, and I had her number. So Kevin was doing most of this actually at the time because I was in labor, but Kevin ended up calling her and she didn't answer, but like 30 seconds later she called back. So she said she would get in contact with my main midwife, and then a little while later, I'm not really sure because I didn't comprehend time at the moment, a little while later my midwife started texting me and asking like how far the contractions were apart, and I was telling her, and Kevin was pretty much texting her actually at the time too, because I was leaning over the bed, moaning through each contraction, and they were a minute to a minute and a half long, like 2 to 2.5 minutes apart, I believe. Kevin wasn't telling me everything that she was texting him because it probably would have freaked me out. So she was telling Kevin that we should go to the birth center because if they were that close together, she didn't think she could get to me in time. But I could not sit down at all, so I don't know how I would have rode in a car. And their birth center is almost an hour away from us, so I did not see how that was possible. She told Kevin that he may have to deliver the baby himself. So this was around 12:30, and they did not get here until 3:30, which is very weird because they should have been here way before that. But Kevin kept checking like outside and texting them, and I remember, I think he told me that, not during labor, but afterwards, like an hour after she started texting me, she finally said she was on her way. So they got here, they checked me, and I was having serious back labor. So I tried to go sit down on the couch where I could like kind of recline on a heating pad. I was doing that for a few hours, kind of dozing off in between contractions because I was so exhausted. And they didn't do much. They were just sitting at the kitchen table. Then they came in around, so they got here at 3:30. They came into the living room at around 5:30 and told me I was not in labor. This could go on for 24 hours. One of the midwives said she did this for 3 days or 3 nights in a row before having her first baby. So they said, when they checked me on Monday, they said that I was in the same place as I was on Monday. And on Monday, I wasn't dilated at all. So I was thinking I'm not dilated and I could be doing this for 3 days. And it was very, very discouraging. So at this point, Kevin was so tired too. And I was thinking that if I was going to do this for 3 days, I was going to need him more like when I was actually in labor and having the babies. So I told him to go to bed and I called my mom because we live like right down the hill from them. So to come sit with me because I didn't want to just stay up alone. So around 7:30 I felt like I couldn't sit on the couch anymore. So I went into the bathroom and sat on the toilet and my water broke at this point. And I felt like I had to push, which freaked me out because I thought I wasn't in labor and wasn't dilated at all just like 2 hours ago. So my mom woke up Kevin and he tried calling my main midwife. She didn't answer. So I don't remember who he called because I was pushing at this point. He called the doula and she finally answered and said that she would get in contact with our midwife and they would head our way. So when I was on the toilet, I could feel myself tearing. So our plan was to have a water birth at home, but the midwives were going to bring the birthing pool. So it was not here at the time and we do not have a bathtub in our house. I made the decision to go up the hill to my parents' house because they have a tub and I knew I needed the water because I was tearing. So I walked up the hill, had 2 contractions, had to stop and like breathe through them. And when I got into the tub, it helped so much. It helped with the back pain I was having. We have some neighbors who she has had, I believe, 8 kids and I think the majority of them at home. So I don't remember who called, my mom, my dad, somebody called, and her oldest daughter came and kind of coached me through some of it. When she got there, she told me to check myself. I could feel the baby's head. So I remember her saying like, we're gonna have a baby. So we didn't know where my midwives were at the time. So our neighbors called her midwife that she uses, which lives like 2 hours away from us. Her midwife got into the car and started heading our way. She was on speakerphone through the entire time I was laboring in the tub and trying to coach me through. So I got into the tub around 8 or 8:30, I'm not really sure, and yeah, just labored in the tub until 10. So he was born in the water right after 10. I caught him, we got out of the tub, and I went to my parents' room because I was not walking down the hill right after having the baby. So our neighbor's midwife got here before my midwives did, and started taking care of me and Kaden, but the assistant midwife, she came to check and see how we were doing from earlier that morning and didn't know we had a baby at all. So she called the main midwife and told her I'll probably need stitching, and it took her another hour to get here and she couldn't stitch me up, so I had to drive like an hour away to the hospital to get stitches. So if you are wanting to have a home birth, a water birth, a birth with midwives, don't let this story scare you, because I would do it exactly the same way again if I had the choice. I would do it differently. Definitely I would want a midwife here just in case something did go wrong. But yeah, if you are wanting a home birth, this is a positive story. It may be a scary story for some, but I'm so happy with the way it turned out. I definitely would want to change a few things if I could. Everything worked out perfectly fine. It was definitely according to God's plan. I remember praying, like my main prayer through the pregnancy was, go before me Abba, because I wanted him to go before me into birth and labor and just pave the way, and I would just follow after him. And I definitely see that he did that, because nothing in that story was the way I planned, because we bought everything on the birth supply list. I had everything organized and laid out and set up and cleaned and ready in my home, but none of that happened. I used just like 3 things that I had ready for the birth, but that's the stuff I literally had in my house already, and I didn't have to buy, which is crazy. When the midwife finally did get here to stitch me up, she told me that I was actually a little over 2 centimeters dilated, which that is not what she led me to believe by saying I was where I was at Monday. So that reassured me a little bit about why I was pushing, because I could have progressed further. I will probably make a few videos in the future about what I did to prepare for labor, and what I took and ate and drank, because I think that really did help with me progressing, because I went from them saying I wasn't in labor to 4.5 hours later having a baby. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it did not scare you, especially if you're thinking about having a home birth. Not every home birth experience was like mine. So this is Caden, and his birth story is completely unbelievable, unplanned, and so of God, I believe. So we are so thankful to have him in our lives. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we will see you next time.